They are using the instrument of Lawrence Bishnoi and his gang, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He went there under false pretenses, false charges. They have used the words like, expressions like Godi media. This is basically nothing else but to send out a message to the Khalistani separatists and to the people in general that you support me because I'm the one.
They put my name on that list, by the way, sir.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, so they put my name, sir, because
I think that should be taken as a badge of honor.
Doesn't Canada realize that all these people have criminal backgrounds, and it's not just terrorism, sir? There are drugs, there is illegal immigration, there is human trafficking, there is contract killing, there is so much more that is happening with these people who claim to be Khalistani.
I think full credit must be given to Donald Trump that he identified China as the real threat.
Hello friends, my name is Gaurav Arya and welcome to Gap, the Gaurav Arya podcast. We again have a very special guest this time, and this time we are going to discuss geopolitics and foreign affairs. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar has served as ambassador in Latvia, Kazakhstan and Sweden. Jai Hind, sir, and a very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Jai Hind, and a great pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. Sir, the latest news that everybody is talking about is how we can go back to 2020 patrolling points. Now, we've had 5 agreements with the Chinese, sir, and all of them torn by the Chinese. Before they did a Galwan on us, sir, they tore everything down, and we had been believing in these agreements because we thought that, these are sovereign in nature. One state signs it to the next state, and you can't normally, in the normal course of events, break these kind of agreements, but China did. Now, the foreign minister has said that we can go back to our 2020 patrolling points, which is a great diplomatic victory for India. And also the army was involved. There were so many series of corps commander level talks, everything, sir. How did this happen? That is part one of the question. And can we trust the Chinese, sir?
Okay, so thank you very much once again, Gaurav. And, responding to your second question first, I think the trust deficit has been so huge between the two countries. I think if at all, it's going to take a long time to repair it. Now, how did this happen? Because I think we also really need to look at the geopolitics. We really need to see how the global issues, affairs have been developing, have been changing. There has been so much of turmoil, so much of turbulence in the world. And, you mentioned about Galwan 2025 agreements. I would like to take you back a little bit also. Look at 2017. What happened in Doklam.
Yes, sir.
There also, what was the idea of the Chinese? Basically, they wanted to come close to the chicken's neck so that, they have a commanding position there and they are able to sort of, control whatever as far as the northeast is concerned. And we know that, 93,000 square kilometers of Arunachal Pradesh is what they claim to be the
South Tibet is what they call it.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. That's what it is. And before that, even in 2013, you would recall that when the first visit of the Chinese Prime Minister at that time, Li Keqiang, that took place around that time. Also, there was an incursion by China into India. So I think this messaging, even in 2014, when Xi Jinping came here,
yes, sir.
That was also in September 2014, you might remember.
Yes, sir.
And, it was both in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad. But when the two leaders came to Hyderabad House in Delhi, then the Prime Minister sent out a very clear signal to President Xi Jinping that, we'll not be able to realize the full potential of our relations unless we have peace and tranquility at the border. So I think these indications were available to us at that time. But of course, we can speculate a great deal as to why did the Chinese do what they did at the time that they did. But I tend to agree with you that it's a huge victory, huge diplomatic victory, huge in that sense also communicating a message to China that as far as militarily we are concerned, we are not going to buckle under, we are not going to back down. Because you would recall that, after this happened, Galwan happened in June of 2020. In September of 2020, we had the meetings between Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh and the Chinese Foreign Minister in Moscow, we had the meeting between EM, Dr. J Shanker, and the Chinese foreign minister again in Moscow on the sidelines of the SCO summits. And at that time, it was thought, they said, that we are going to come together and resolve this issue.
Yes, sir.
But that has not happened, and we have come to this particular position. I think we need to be very careful going forward. We need to be keep ourselves prepared and not be taken by surprise. This time the Chinese might have, in April 2020, they moved in because they thought that India would not be able to handle it. We were too busy with the pandemic, dealing with the pandemic. No one knew what the impact of the pandemic is going to be. But right now, why we need to welcome, but we need also to stay fully prepared. China for the last 4 years has been telling us that the situation is normal on the border and we can restore the rest of the relationship, particularly the economic relationship, because we know that China has its back to the wall as far as its the economic situation back home is concerned. So I think we need to be really
absolutely,
prepared in every sense of the word.
Absolutely, sir. But in a sense, what you're saying is that there were a series of incidences which has led to this thing happening recently, that now we can go back to our old patrolling points. Having said that, I see an underlying message in which you're saying keep your powder dry.
Absolutely.
Is that true, sir?
Absolutely. I think we've seen not only as far as our own border is concerned. They saw an opportunity and they came in. But it is not only relationship on the 3,488 kilometers of the border. There is also a bigger relationship in the area of the economy. They also know that India is present as a member of the Quad as far as the South China Sea is concerned, as far as Chinese expansionism in that area is concerned. So, it's not only a trans-border relationship, but it's a broader, wider relationship. And they thought that they, like all the other countries, that they would be able to browbeat India.
And that didn't happen.
I think they have realized that that is not possible. You would recall when, in 2016,
Sure.
Philippines got this result, this decision from the Permanent Court of Arbitration about South China Sea, about, the Paracel Islands, Spratly Islands, Scarborough Shoals, about the 9-dash line that China had been insisting that this whole body of water belonged to China. But Philippines got this decision, but still they were not really able to implement it.
China would not honor it, sir.
China would not honor it, and they sort of, did a bit of muscle flexing. And Philippines was not able to withstand that pressure. So also Vietnam. And they thought India would also do the same. But India is different.
India is much larger, sir, the most populous country on earth.
No, we were, let's say we were large in 62 also. It's not that we become large now. But I think in terms of what we have been able to do, in terms of developing our border infrastructure, whether it is roads, whether it is tunnels, whether it is bridges.
That has really hurt the Chinese?
That is, yes. I think the message has gone to them very clearly, because even after 2020, they thought, all the global economies, they have really, come on their knees. But not India. India has continued not only to grow, but it has also continued to introduce reforms, whether it is GST, whether it is IBC, you name it. Our reform process has not stopped. And that is why your economy has continued to grow. And since the size of the pie has grown, economy has grown, you are able to sort of, put in that much more money as far as defense is concerned, new technology is concerned, whether it is the Rafales, whether it is the Apache or the Chinook or the Sea Dragons, as far as the Predator drones are concerned. So everywhere, India has been able to do that, and India has been able to demonstrate that we are not going to get cowed, and we are not going to get pressurized and pushed by what China is doing.
Absolutely, sir. And I'll now Again, another flavor of the season, sir, Canada. So, Canada has asked the Indian High Commissioner to leave. India, in return, has said, 6 of you leave from here. And so, to my mind, sir, as a layman or as a layperson, what was happening in Canadian politics or what was happening geopolitically that Justin Trudeau, today he says that I did not have evidence. It was intelligence given to me. And as we all know, sir, intelligence is never precise, sir. So they will say that this is about to happen in this time frame. It's not very precise. Most of the time intelligence is not precise, sir. That is the nature of intelligence. So basis intelligence, this man goes on the floor of the Canadian Parliament and he says that the Indians have killed Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He said so in so many words, sir. My question is, and we'll come to a series of questions on Canada and the United States, sir, and the Five Eyes also. But my question to you is, sir, being a diplomat, this is extremely undiplomatic. Is there nobody to guide Justin Trudeau that without hard evidence, irrefutable hard evidence, you can't just say anything that you feel like and damage relations with the world's 5th largest economy, the largest democracy, and apart from that also a country that has been friends with Canada for decades. So we've had very good relationship with Canada. His father notwithstanding and the Kanishka bombings notwithstanding, the relationship between India and Canada has been generally warm. What prompted Justin Trudeau to do all of this?
I think I would put it in one word or just a few words, that it was his domestic politics. It is his vote bank politics. He found that he really had his back to the wall.
Sir.
And we all know about what happened as far as the parliamentary elections in 2021 are concerned. He got about 153 seats. He was short by about 15, 16 seats. And that could be provided to him only by this Jagmeet Singh Dhaliwal of the New Democratic Party. So they were able to offer him 15 seats. They had won about 25 seats. So he was so indebted. So I think I would agree with you. I would tend to agree with you that our relationship with Canada has by and large been positive, been good, and it was on the upward move when Prime Minister Modi visited after he won the election in 2014. Stephen Harper, the Conservative, he was the Prime Minister at that time. And the future looked really bright as far as India-Canadian relations are concerned. But we have seen as soon as Justin Trudeau came and he wanted to pander to that vote bank. You would recall his visit to India in 2018. Your viewers, listeners would recall that when he had come here, he came here for 7 days. And all these days he spent going to different places, trying to reach out to his vote bank back home. And his meetings with the government, with the official meetings, took place on just one day. That's the last day. So it really signifies as to what his basic objective is. And I think that is what became clear on the 18th of September 2023 when he rose up in the parliament. I think it is total immaturity, total lack of any balance in how you proceed with these things. You look at, you did mention about the United States, what is happening there. You look at the manner in which the US has handled it, not in terms of, it's the top leadership has not engaged itself in this particular slanging sort of a match with India, neither at the level of President Biden, although it was said that Mr. Biden had all the information when he came here last year for the G20. But the discussions that he had was with the Prime Minister one-to-one and sort of, maybe spoke with him. Similarly, I think between Secretary of State Blinken and Dr. J Shanker. But otherwise, the discussions have been taking place at the level where they should be taking place. That is the level of the intelligence agencies. That is what they have been doing. Now here, the Prime Minister first, he comes and he speaks in the Parliament without any evidence whatsoever. We have Gaurav, also gone through such cases where, there has been a lot of intelligence, for instance, 2611, for instance, Kargil. But, when we provided dossiers after dossier to Pakistan, it was we had, taken that forward. Intelligence had been converted into hard evidence. And that is what we were able to share with Pakistan. That's another thing that, Pakistan being what it is, it would not either accept it or take action on it.
I mean, so voice transcripts, GPS, those fixed locations.
Exactly.
Every single thing was given that this is hard evidence.
Yes.
Now you choose to ignore it because of other compulsions. That's another matter. But it still defies logic, sir. And that is what I want to ask you, because you've spent your entire life as a diplomat. I mean, I'm sure Canada has a very vibrant, strong and a professional diplomatic corps, sir. I'm sure it does. And I'm sure they would have advised their Prime Minister that, why would you do such a thing? Or are domestic compulsions or the desire to be the Prime Minister of Canada so strong that you're saying that it does not matter at all? I mean, our relationship with the world's largest democracy can go down the drain. We don't care. I need to become the Prime Minister. I think that was the leading principle by which I think he took off. And it's only last week that he says that I have no evidence.
Yeah.
This is shocking, sir.
And you see, I think the problem there is, number one, he goes to the parliament. Number two, now when he is sort of, speaking to that commission, which is discussing this issue, he said, I had no evidentiary proof at that time. And then what he does is, again, for which there was no need, he takes another press conference. The RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, has already, expanded the scope of what the charges of Canada are. They are making absolutely harebrained charges, saying that the Indian High Commissioner is involved in some way in terms of...
He's a person of interest, sir.
Yeah, person. He and 5 others. And person of interest that they are involved in Nijjar's killing, and also beyond that they are identifying those who are supporting the Khalistani separatist cause, and they are going after them, and they are using the instrument of Lawrence Bishnoi and his gang. They have no idea of how Indian diplomacy works, how Indian foreign policy is conducted, and they are just making these charges. And even after that, the foreign minister of Canada, whatever her name, Jolie or someone.
Yes, sir.
And she says that the other diplomats here are also on notice. Meaning they have completely lost all sense of balance, and it is all because he wants to stay, his party, Liberal Party, they want to stay in power. And they have seen that even the, NDP, the New Democratic Party, has also withdrawn support from
the Liberal Party, sir.
From the Liberal Party, from Justin Trudeau. I think the other issue that is also very relevant and very valid is that he was really being asked to examine, to go through the foreign interference of China in the internal affairs. Now, your viewers, I'm sure, must have seen the report that has come out that what they are charging Indian media, YouTube, Indian television channels of spreading disinformation against Canada. Now, because they are saying, what Canada has done, what Justin Trudeau has done is, not something, there has been no evidence, so they should not be coming out with this. And he has said they've used the words like, expressions like Godi media. Now that is so unprofessional that in a official document you are coming out and you say that, Modi aligned media. So this is basically nothing else but to send out a message to the Khalistani separatists and to the people in general that you support me because I'm the one who has the interest, who has the security, who has the welfare of the Canadian people in my mind, in my heart. and I'm standing up against, this big country, this big economy, this big democracy. Nothing but pure personal interest.
They put my name on that list, by the way, sir.
Oh, is that so?
Yes,
I
so
see.
they put my
Okay.
name, sir, because...
I think that should be taken as a badge of honor.
Yes, sir. The Pakistanis, the British also, sir. There is an FIR against me in Kent City, sir, in the UK. And now the Canadians. I don't know what I'm doing right or wrong anyway. Now, the thing is, where do you think our relationship with Canada is going? The reason why I ask you this question is that he has damaged it. But Pierre Poilievre, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, sir, the opposition leader of the Conservative Party, he says that if he comes to power next year, the first thing in order of priority is to reset relations with India. And a lot of the people from the Conservative Party, so there was a debate 4 days back in the Canadian Parliament where they said that why are you doing this? And they were asking their own Prime Minister, why in God's name are you doing this? Why are you damaging a relationship unnecessarily? You have no proof. Where is the evidence? And we are asking you on the floor of the Parliament, where is the evidence? So there are voices in Canada, sane voices in their Parliament who are questioning the Prime Minister. How deeply has this relationship been fractured, sir? I would like to ask you bluntly, how deeply has the relationship, Indo-Canadian relationship, been fractured? Is it retrievable or not?
Okay, let me put it this way. I think it is not only in the Canadian Parliament. In fact, it is his own party members. Liberal Party, they said that they don't want him to be continue as the leader of their party because he has, not been effective. He's been incompetent. He's not really been able to win the confidence of the people. And I think when the elections take place next year, there is a very great likelihood because the popularity ratings, the support of Justin Trudeau at the moment is just, I think, around 30%, if not lower than that. So it is very unlikely that he is going to come back as the Prime Minister. So number one, that till he is in position, at least at the level of the political relations, I don't think relations will be able to improve once we have the conservative leader who comes. But we'll have to keep that in mind, because if the Khalistani separatists and that party NDP is able to command about 25 seats in the parliament, so that means they are could be a force to reckon with. So we'll really have to wait and see. I think we'll really need to go in terms of educating the people of Canada also, because what is happening is that this is damaging, meaning they are getting all these extremists, all these terrorists, all those who have been designated as offenders of the law in India. They are being brought to Canada and they are being given citizenship. Even Hardeep Singh Nijjar, he went there under false pretenses, false charges. He applied for citizenship many times. It was turned down. But then through some connections or the other, he was able to get the citizenship in 2007. So, even their people say that, although he was a Canadian citizen by nationality, by paper, but otherwise the sort of activities that they were carrying out, it is going to be harmful for Canada itself. So I think this messaging needs to go out to them very clearly, that while you had mentioned right at the beginning, you had referred to the Kanishka bombing. And Kanishka bombing, we know that as far as the main accused, Talvinder Singh Parmar, he was his repatriation, his extradition was asked for by Mrs. Indira Gandhi in 1982, and that was not exceeded. Similarly, currently we have had 26 extradition requests with Canada, and they have been totally disregarded. There has been no sensitivity shown to Indian security concerns, Indian territorial integrity concerns. All these people, they might be of Sikh origin, of Indian origin, but they are all Canadian citizens now. Whatever happens in India has to be decided by Indians. They shouldn't be having the Canadian citizens there. Their background might be Indian, but they have no role, they have no locus standi to be able to say what people in India should be doing or what they should be asking for.
So my question again in this regard is this quick question about Canada before we move to the US. Sir.
Sure.
I'm sure Canada realizes, because Canada can take another 10,000 Khalistanis, sir. It won't matter to India. It's good that they're getting cleared out of here. And there is very little those guys can do sitting in Canada. What they can do is a referendum, sir. And they can carry out 10,000 referendums, sir, all over the world. It hardly matters to India. We'll be able to, absolutely ignore that. But doesn't Canada realize that all these people have criminal backgrounds? And it's not just terrorism, sir. There is drugs, there is illegal immigration, there is human trafficking, there is contract killing, there is so much more that is happening with these people who claim to be Khalistani, quote-unquote, activists. And their base of operations is Canada. Is it damaging the local fabric in Canada, number one? And number two, there have been a lot of anti-immigration sentiments that are seen now in Canada, which was not there earlier, sir. So Canada was very welcoming of immigrants, but now the white majority, let me be absolutely blunt, sir, the white majority is now slowly and steadily pushing back. Does it have anything to do with Trudeau's policies, sir?
Yeah, I think so. You see, as far as this pushback against the immigrants is concerned, because still, if you look at the numbers, it is 40 million is the population of the country, 40 plus or something. It's about 1.8% of that is of Indian origin.
Sure.
Out of that, 6 would be about 0.8%, something of that sort. And the Khalistani terrorists would be a minuscule portion of the six population.
Yes, very small.
So in that sense, I think it has so far not started hitting them in terms of the law and order issues. You are very right. It's not only terrorism, it's drugs, it's money laundering, it's extortions, it's sort of, contract killing. Everything has been happening. And still for its own purposes, first it started with Pierre Trudeau, his father, who was very soft, basically again for political reasons. And now it is Justin Trudeau who has, magnified this whole problem in such a manner since the time he has come to power. So I think it is definitely going to do damage. But let me put it this way. If there is a change in government, then I think we can sort of dial back, and some of the other aspects, whether it is trade, whether it is cooperation in other areas, barring political area, barring security area, I think we should be able to move along without too much of a damage. Our students are there. The pension fund is invested here in a big way in India. So I think that will continue, because that I don't think will be affected. But then the welcoming aspect, because if this whole thing has gone, really what Trudeau has done, sent it through the stratosphere, in terms of making these wild allegations and unsubstantiated charges, then as far as the people there are concerned, how they react, how they respond to the Indian diaspora, which has settled down very well, which has, had good relations with the people there, how they are going to respond, I think that is going to be problematic going forward.
So I'd like to draw your attention to what America is doing in all of this. Like you very rightly mentioned, Joe Biden said nothing when that Gurpatwan Singh Pannu case came up. And it was basically agency to agency, and they're dealing with it. Somehow it gives me the impression, and not just this case, over a period of a couple of years, that while America wants to be India's friend and America welcomes, it's been called the defining partnership of the 21st century and all of that, sir. So very nice words have been said and backed by some degree of action. The US does not want an India that is strategically autonomous. And this is something that India is steadfast about, sir. This is something that EAM J Shanker has very frequently mentioned, strategic autonomy. In fact, Eric Garcetti, their ambassador to India, he said that, such a thing does not exist. And if you have a war with China, this will not hold you in good stead, etc., sir. They want an India that is close to them, but they don't want an India that is thinking in a sovereign manner, if I may put it that way. What are your views?
No, I think you are right that, to give a simile and analogy, they want to run with the hare and hunt with the hound. They want to have best of both the worlds, that you should be with us and still, completely we need you as far as China is concerned. Dealing with China is concerned, that has emerged as a systemic threat, as a strategic threat as far as the United States is concerned. So we want India to be with us, and we also want India in terms of the major market that is there. So if we are moving out from China, if our companies are moving out from China, there is, of course, India also needs to do its homework. We have started on the Atmanirbharta issue, Make in India, initiatives, etc. So we also need to do that, but we are doing that. So the United States needs India, it recognizes that. But then it is not particularly happy at different levels, particularly what is called the deep state, particularly what is called the intelligence agencies, that India has still not condemned Russia for what it has done to Ukraine. It has not done, as far as it continues to buy cheap oil from there, which is supporting the Russian war effort against Ukraine. So these are the things that it doesn't like. So initially it was pushing back against India, that is what you have to do. When you are buying this oil, then you are, violating the sanctions that you would have, I'm sure your listeners are aware of what Joseph Borrell, the foreign trade policies are of the European Union.
Sure.
He had mentioned. Of course, as far as Blinken is concerned, people like him and Lloyd Austin, they have said that we recognize that India, at that time, when India became dependent upon the upon USSR for defense equipment,
yes, sir,
then we were not willing to sell our weapons too. So we understand. So there, at some level, there is a grudging respect for India's policies, but at another level, they would like to sort of, continue to push back against India so that they are able to control it, to devise certain levers of control against India, which they could possibly use.
Like they've been doing with Pakistan. Sir.
Like with Pakistan, yeah.
You write a big check,
yeah,
and they say yes, sir.
Yeah.
And India won't do that, sir.
Yeah.
So they're slightly.
Sorry to say, but in the same conversation, I would not like to put India and Pakistan together.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
I'm sorry to say that.
Yes.
Meaning, Pakistan, like even when the civil nuclear cooperation deal was signed between India and the United States, and Pakistan said, we also need energy. And President Bush told them very squarely that, this is chalk and cheese. You are absolutely different.
Yes.
Because as far as their nuclear technology is concerned, Pakistan had stolen that nuclear technology from outside. As far as India is concerned, our credibility in terms of being able to develop our own nuclear technology was undisputed. So that is why when we sign on a piece of paper, I think the world recognizes it, that we plan to observe our obligations and commitments.
We honor our words.
We honor our word. You can't say the same for countries like Pakistan, China, etc.
Yes, sir. So, like for example, sir, the GE engines, which were supposed to be given, now suddenly they are not coming, and the Tejas project is delayed because the airframes are ready and everything is ready, but there are no engines. And America promised engines. So these are the hooks that America will use to sort of arm twist. My question is regarding Quad, sir. Now, for a very long time, India has resisted the weaponizing of Quad. So you have the AUKUS also coming up in another manner, of which India is not a part, but India is certainly a very important part. The reason why I'm saying this, though, very recently we had the Malabar exercises, sir, in which all the 4 countries, so they were there, their special forces were there, the naval special forces, and their destroyers were there, and all the ships were there. So what Joe Biden has done is he has raised the level of Quad to say that heads of state, earlier it was at the ministerial level, now they're saying heads of state. That is Joe Biden's doing big contributions, sir. Now, India is resisting this quote-unquote weaponization of Quad. Because once you are in a treaty format like NATO, then if America is attacked, let us say in Taiwan, sir, then India will, per se have to go into battle for the sake of... No, India is pushing back against it. Then why have Quad, sir, if you're not weaponizing it? What good is Quad? Not vaccines. Vaccines you can give. India's been talking about vaccines and Quad. We don't need the Quad to deliver vaccines, sir. Without Quad, we delivered vaccines throughout the world, sir, when COVID happened. So why Quad?
Okay, so, as far as vaccines are concerned, you're very right. I think even without the Quad, we delivered more than 300 million doses to more than 100 countries.
Sure.
And even medical supplies to more than 150 countries. So,
Sure.
You don't need the Quad for that. Although the Quad did say that, we'll have how many? 2 billion vaccines, which India will manufacture with funding from Japan and US, and will be distributed through the distribution network of Australia. So, I don't know how many of them went. But I think basically it does have, it might not be weaponizing, Gaurav, but I think it has some security elements. You look at the marine domain awareness, and that I think does give confidence to a number of these countries, going against illegal fishing, at which the Chinese are there in a big way. The point I would like to make to you is that if when the Quad was revived in November 2017, Wang Yi was still the foreign minister
Yes,
of
sir.
China. And what did he say about Quad? It is like a bubble. It is like a froth on the surface of the ocean. It is going to disappear without a trace. What do they say now? That it is an Asian NATO. So it has the Chinese worried. Why do they always comment upon what the decisions are? And I think in terms of this is something that it's a step-by-step approach. You're very right that from 2017 till 2020, 3 years, there were only 2 meetings even at the level of the foreign ministers. 2019 on the sidelines of the UNGA, and 2020 in October in Tokyo, when Mike Pompeo had gone from travel, and those were the real height of the pandemic. So, all the foreign ministers, Dr. J Shanker, he went from here, and Australian Marisa Payne had come from there, and of course in Japan, the foreign minister. The point I'm making is all these had to make a lot of effort. Now, when Biden came in 2021, January 21, the first summit in February 21. That was a virtual summit. The first in-person summit, September in Washington, D.C. Then successively in Tokyo and in Hiroshima. And one, of course, happening immediately after the Russian attack on Ukraine.
So please allow me to interrupt you, sir.
Sir.
क्यों करा बाइडन ने ऐसा?
I think basically he was also wanting to take forward the same national security strategy that had come during the time of Donald Trump, that they have now identified. Because before that, there was no identification. It was only, I think full credit must be given to Donald Trump that he identified China as the real threat. You would recall that when Xi Jinping had gone to Washington, D.C. in 2015 and he met Barack Obama, he told Barack Obama that there is going to be no militarization of the South China Sea. And the Americans and none of the others were willing to hold China to its word, because they merrily went around both militarizing the South China Sea, also creating artificial islands and militarizing those. No one was able to, because they wanted China's cooperation in the climate change aspects, climate change issues. So they were not really willing to push back against. It was Donald Trump who came, who identified in the national security strategy of 2017 that China is the systemic threat as far as US is concerned, as far as the global order is concerned. And whatever you might say, Biden has bought bought into that narrative and has taken it forward. And he also realizes, basically, before that, foreign ministers might have met. The first meeting, virtual meeting of the Quad, there was no leaders' declaration. Everyone was issuing their own statements. And no one was mentioning China. Now, September, what was the vision of the future? That is the Quad statement that came out. And China is identified, not by name, but, when you mention that it should be a free and open Indo-Pacific, free, open, inclusive Indo-Pacific. Rules-based international order.
Sure.
And, even when Prime Minister goes for the East Asia Summit, as he was in Lao PDR just now, he mentioned about Quad, that the Quad has a similarity with the ASEAN outlook for the Indo-Pacific. When he went to Singapore before that, in the joint statement, please have a look, Gaurav, there is reference to Quad. So the point is that India is also projecting on the Quad, and what the Prime Minister has said, that it is a force for global good. And so all the elements that are included in that, whether it is infrastructure, marine domain awareness, I have said, HADR, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, education, health care. So these are all instruments to wean away the countries in the ASEAN region away from the clutches of, the strong control that China has in that region. Because you've seen now, Philippines has started under the new president. It has started pushing back against China. We have supplied BrahMos worth $286 million to Philippines. There might be others also, whether it is Vietnam, meaning we've been talking, but I think it will give them greater confidence and greater strength, if the Quad is present there. We have, of course, the military element, the security element in the Malabar exercises. So I am certain, I'm quite convinced that we have told the other Quad members we are not going to convert it into a military platform or a military grouping as such. And that is what we have been telling, that we don't agree that this is an Asian NATO. You would have seen the new Japanese Prime Minister, who said that he wants to convert, make Quad into an Asian NATO. And immediately the rebuttal came from Dr. J Shanker, that we don't agree with this. We don't think it's an Asian NATO. It has as the Prime Minister has said, it's a force for global good. So I think it is a way to reach out, because the last word on this, what I would like to mention is that in the past, 20 years ago, the United States was the major trading and investment partner of Southeast Asian countries. It was also the major security provider.
Sure.
It has alliances with Japan, with Taiwan, with Philippines, with South Korea, with Australia. So it is an ally partner of all these countries. But today the situation is that most of the investment and most of the trade is coming from China. Security is still being provided by the United States. And these countries do not wish to take sides. They don't want to, decide that we are with the United States on one issue, with China on the other issue. They are happy as the situation is, that there should be peace and tranquility in the region. And I think that is the message that we seek to give through the Quad, that we are not here to, the Quad is not here to, these countries are not here to militarize the region, but basically take actions which is for the benefit, for the advantage, for the development, for the growth, for the prosperity of all these countries.
So my last question to you is, so there are two areas. One is the Five Eyes and whatever they're doing, sir. Evidence, India is trying, RAW is doing these operations, XYZ. Then there is the Chinese pressure, sir. So pressure from both the sides. But that is just, let me call it sound, sir. This is surround sound. The real thing is, the Prime Minister says good things about the Quad, and India stands solidly behind the Quad as a force for global good. But very recently, the Prime Minister, and as we speak, sir, he's in Russia for BRICS, and the Prime Minister says that BRICS is not anti-West, it is not West. This is high wire balancing stuff that India is doing. And I have never seen diplomacy this interesting, sir, because, you're with Quad and on one day, and you're with Quad solidly. You put your resources and your political capital, your diplomatic capital behind the Quad, saying that this is a force for global good, and then you go to the BRICS summit and say that, hey, so this whole strategic autonomy thing that Dr. J Shanker keeps on talking about, what does it take from India, sir, in terms of, sir, may I call it diplomatic walking the tightrope?
Yeah, in a manner it is. But you see, also, Gaurav, you have to realize we are able to walk the tightrope because we have developed the capacity to do so. And mind you, this economic strength and capacity is very important. What we were, the 10th largest economy 10 years ago. Today we are the 5th largest. Within a year, 2 years, we are going to be the 3rd largest. We are the fastest growing major economy. We continue to take our reforms. We are, even the managing director of the IMF has said that India is a ray of hope in an otherwise gloomy economic environment. So I think this gives you the capacity to be able to stand firm. If you did not have the economic backing and the economic strength, you would not really be able to do it. Second thing, what it takes is leadership. And I think leadership to be able to see what is in the future. And that is what, I think the current leadership, whether at the level of the Prime Minister, or at the level of the External Affairs Minister, or you look at other areas, you are developing of our infrastructure, of the digital payment infrastructure, public infrastructure, all these new initiatives. Otherwise, if any lesser individual, if she or he was heading a complex and a challenging country like India, they would have wilted under the pressure.
Very surprisingly, sir, I'll just put in a word sideways. India has managed to, I don't know if I'm framing this correctly, maybe I'm not, but suddenly India has been able, because of Galwan, because of other things, China, even the Americans or the Canadians, sir, this, if I may say, this tough guy image that, okay, we will not be the aggressors, but don't expect India to take stuff lying down. That is also a big part of this entire image globally, that, India is suddenly not that India. Now India is, it's a tougher response to every situation. We say, Dr. J Shanker says things that are, there are memes about Dr. J Shanker on social media
absolutely,
and he says stuff which is bang on target, sir.
Yeah, that is that don't mess with us.
Don't mess with us.
That is one. But we also have a gentler side. When Sri Lanka has a problem, we will put up $4.5 billion to help them out with medicines, with food, with fertilizer. When Maldives has a problem, although they have sort of, there was all that India Out campaign and all that sort of things, but India can be magnanimous. India can be generous as far as our region is concerned. We are the first responders. Even when an earthquake takes place in Turkey, our teams are one of the first to arrive there and to provide assistance. So I think, I remember this was the phraseology that Prime Minister Modi had used when he first went to the UNGA in September 2014, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is a family. I think we don't only say it, we exemplify it through our actions. Whether you look at the responders whenever there are disasters around, you look at the Vaccine Maitri initiative, you look at and also that if our people are in need, are in danger, are in threat, India will always be there to bail them out. So you look at Ukraine, you look at, Ukraine, you are able to get both the warring sides to stop firing at each other so that our students can come out of there and come out safely.
Massive, sir. Never heard of.
Never heard. And you look at Afghanistan, you look at Sudan, you look at all these places. So I think India has, its capacity has grown, and it has demonstrated that it will utilize its capacity not only in its own interest but also for the global good. And I think that is what has really raised the stature of India around the world, in our region, in our neighborhood. And I think notwithstanding the challenges, but you mentioned about that BRICS is not anti-Western, but it is we want to
not Western.
Not anti-Western, but a non-Western platform. Even Mr. Putin has said that yesterday. So I would invite your listeners to have a look at that.
Sure.
So he has made what everyone was thinking, that with China and Russia being opposed to the West, and now Iran also joining in, and now some of the other anti-Western, that this is going to become an anti-Western front. But no, even one of the major protagonists of BRICS in that is Russia, Mr. Putin himself has said that we don't want it to be an anti-Western platform. And I think that is what India brings to the table, that it is a bridge between the East and the West.
Absolutely, sir.
And it's a bridge between the North and the South.
Yes, sir.
And North and South we showed during G20.
Yes, sir.
That we were able to bring all the countries, all the 20 countries together on the same platform. At the beginning of the meeting, on the first day, we were able to declare that we have a New Delhi Leaders Declaration ready to sign. So we were able to do that here, and we were able to, very recently, Prime Minister goes to Russia in July, and he goes to Ukraine in August, and after that he goes to the United States in September. And he is received with equal warmth and respect in all these capitals.
Wonderful. Sir, thank you so much for talking to us, sir. It was wonderful hosting you. And friends, what a wonderful conversation with Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar. We spoke about Canada and the domestic compulsions of Justin Trudeau. We spoke about America. We spoke about Quad. We did not speak about Pakistan. Of course, we did not. Just a passing mention. But about so many other things. The BRICS. It was absolutely an educational experience for me. And we'll be back again with another special guest very soon. Thank you for watching. Sir, thank you for giving us the honor to host you, sir.
बहुत धन्यवाद गौरव, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बातचीत करके. I think how the time has flown, I didn't realize.
Thank you, sir.
But it's been very enriching for me also.
Honor and privilege, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.